All right. Well, welcome to the Viking Press Pass episode 23. And I'm Matthew Nickel. And joining me here today is the senior guard and one of the captains, Matt Hawkins. So, Matt, thanks for joining me.
Appreciate you having me. Appreciate you having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, let's start off with this has always been the greatest debate of my lifetime. Do you prefer Matt or Matthew?
You know, I think I prefer Matt. Um, I go back and forth a little bit, um, but it kind of caught me off guard the other day. We were in a game. Um, this was Bethel, and Coach Dope said Matthew, and I don't think I've ever heard him say that, and it kind of threw me off. So I think I'm good with Matt for now.
All right. All right. Yeah, it really has been, man. Like I remember, I went by Matt all the way up until actually when I was at Augie. I started to transition a little bit to Matthew, but again, um, I think I've really landed on Matthew at the end of the day. But yeah, man, I went back and forth, and I don't know. Do you get asked that a lot? Because I do. I guess. Do you prefer Matt or Matthew? I mean, regularly.
It kind of depends. I mean, people do ask me, but honestly, more now that I'm in college. I get a lot of people call me Hawk. Um, I never did. I never said for people to call me that back in grade school and high school because my dad was always Hawk. So it was kind of like, he can't be
All
Hawk
right.
if Big Hawk is around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm still rolling with Matt. So
All right. Well, oh, all right. We'll take that. It's better than Hawk Jr. or something like that. So,
yeah, something.
um, well, hey, all right. So you're a senior. Vikings are off to the best start. Since you've been here. Um, I mean, how would you describe the season so far, kind of from your point of view?
I think it's been refreshing. Is the first thing that comes to mind. I think we're out there having a lot of fun, playing with a lot of joy. Obviously, it's more fun to win. So that's something that's always going to help out. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just refreshing. All the guys are happy to play, playing with a lot of joy, and doing it together. So
How's it been, under Coach Delp's kind of first full year, under the helm? I mean, he's already, he's been on the staff for a few years now, but really, him, Malik, really kind of leading the charge here. How's that been so far on is your senior year?
hello.
Hey, there you go. All right.
Okay, there we
Looks like
go.
it froze there for a second. No, you're
Yeah.
good. So with Coach Delp and Malik, Wildermuth there at the assistant coach role, how has it been so far? Just them kind of their first full year, kind of captaining the ship here.
It's been awesome, really. I mean, my opinion, not a ton different because Delp is still preaching his same things that he preached even when he wasn't head coach. And same with Malik when he wasn't the head assistant. But they just are reinforcing the things that they've already been saying. When they weren't in the roles they are now, and they're just doing it with a louder voice, a little more commanding. So guys are held accountable, but it's been great.
Awesome. Now I know you guys just got out of practice about an hour ago. What has the focus been, on this week as you work to prepare for, Millikin next Wednesday here at home?
Really, right now it's just a lot of us. Obviously we're getting ready to play a good CCIW opponent, but um, just because we have a nice little break or just a extended gap until the next game when we do play Milliken, it's been a lot of us for the past couple of days, and then we'll start getting into some more Milliken tailored things. But yeah, it's just been a lot of focusing on the things that we need a little more work on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys are just finishing off your, your non-conference schedule. I think you guys went 7-2,
Yeah.
over that time frame. So, you mix in some really good teams. Came away with some really nice wins. Um, so I think ultimately sitting in a really really good spot. As you head into conference play, here this week. So, um, now, last night after we connected and kind of confirmed the time for today, I've had to get to work on my questions because I only had a
Right.
few. Now I uncovered a video on YouTube, and I shared it last night, but the Xfinity prep profile of Matt
Yeah.
Hawkins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because it's almost 4 years to the day that was released, January 7th of 2021. um and seeing you then, compared to now, it's obviously you're 4 years older, um but one of the things that they talked about is, like, you described your mentality, and how you approach the game as truly kind of an asset to yourself. 4 years later, I kind of want to ask you the same thing. Like, what do you feel like you've brought to this program, kind of the past 4 years, looking backwards?
I saw that I saw the Twitter post that you that you said about that, and I kind of watched a little bit of the video, just like the first portion. And really my answer I don't think has changed a whole lot. I think I bring, a lot of different things to the game, or to our program, and whatever Coach Delp feels is needed. That's kind of what I'm willing to do. Especially when we got guys like Ty who can, knock down shots at any time. We got great defenders. We're greater really across the board. So I
Mhm.
just try to do, what I can, what's needed that game. If we need, more pressure on the ball, or more post catches, more guys coming off screens, ball screens, whatever it may be. I'm pretty willing to do that just because I think I'm a flexible player in that sense.
Well, you've been a 4-year player for the Vikings. I think not only are you just well respected, but you're looked to, as a leader on the team. Obviously, you're a captain. Um, how would you describe, like, your leadership style?
You know, I think really, I think I cater kind of person to person. Um, some guys I think need a little more, arm around the shoulder, kind of, you didn't do this right, but we got this next time. And I know other guys do much better with the kind of, not necessarily yelling, but raising the voice a little more just so they understand the message. So really, I think it's just understanding the person, and then you know holding them accountable in whatever sense that needs to be. So like I said, whether it's putting an arm around a guy's shoulder, or kind of calling a guy out, in a drill or something like that. It's really whatever it may be at that time.
Well, it's interesting you say that around, like, flexing style, because you think about, a little bit like life after Augie and continuing to evolve as a leader, in life and in the community. It's like, strong leaders have to be able to flex their style and cater to the person or the audience, that they're helping to lead. So I think, showing some awareness to that, I think at this early age, I think shows a ton of maturity about obviously who you are, and what type of example you like to lead by. So, um, when I was talking to Sean Kelly, and he mentioned in the interview, that I had with him, that you were one of the players that he's looked to kind of in his first year at Augustana. So much of, like, one person's, let's say, legacy is really measured on, how they've impacted others, how they've made others feel. When it's all said and done, and you look back at the legacy you've left on this program, how do you want people to remember you and describe you?
Um, I really just want to be considered a guy who was, you know, out there giving his best effort whenever, whatever game, whatever practice, whatever extracurricular activity it is. And then at the same time being a great leader in that sense. So like the younger guys are able to say like, oh, this guy, helped me out along the way. I remember Hawk said this on this action or whatever that I should be doing this, and hopefully that leaves an imprint in their mind that you know Hawk told me this, so hopefully they continue to remember that and cherish things like that because it might not always be basketball as well. We hang out, all these guys hang out all the time outside of practice and games and stuff like that. So just even in life in general, like I would just like people to consider me a person they can look up to or reach out to anytime they need to.
Now, when you were a freshman and sophomore, I mean, who did you kind of look up to and form a good bond with or look to as like a mentor?
I looked up a lot to Matt Hanno. Matt Hanno and Nate Ortiz were two guys that kind of took me under their wing and really explain, especially what I needed to do to impact the game as a freshman, and told me to really gave me the confidence to go out there and play the way I knew I could play. Because initially I was, it's some freshman jitters, a little nervous. But I think that Nate and Hanno and Dan too did a great job of kind of taking me aside and helping me understand that I can impact the game in many ways. So
Now, in that prep profile, your coach mentioned, you've had a great support system around you growing up. Who would you say has been really kind of influential, in your life, off the court?
um man, there's definitely a long list there. My whole immediate family especially, but the first person that comes to mind is my grandpa. My grandpa would, I mean, since I can remember, would take me to gyms and just kind of let me go and work out, and he would stay and just watch me. Um, and he taught me a lot about not just basketball, because honestly he didn't know a whole lot about basketball or sports in terms of like X's and O's, but he helped me understand that your best effort is really all you can do, and if you keep doing that, eventually you'll get the results you want. And he taught me a lot about life in general. So I would definitely say my grandpa. He was a great example for me.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. Um, Now, outside of basketball, I mean, what do you kind of enjoy, doing when you're not focusing on basketball or school?
Man, it's always been video games for me. So right now it's Marvel Rivals for sure. Been playing a lot of that. Um, Outside of
And what
that,
what platform? What platform though? Xbox or
oh,
PlayStation?
PlayStation for sure. PlayStation for sure. Yeah, PlayStation for sure.
All right, all right.
Ever since Xbox 360, it's been PlayStation. But yeah, so definitely video games, movies and things like that, hanging with friends, um, trying to read a little bit more, but with school and stuff like that, it's a little bit daunting, but we'll get into that hopefully later. But yeah, those are the main things right now.
What so you have an interest in reading. Is there anything in particular that, you're wanting to, read a little bit more, even after you graduate that you want to start to kind of dive into a little bit?
Um, you know, the most recent thing that that kind of sparked my interest was the 48 Laws of Power. I really wanted to read that because I read Meditations last year, and I just thought it was a very good book in terms of just self growth and things like that.
Mhm.
And I respect kind of the main theme of Meditations was like being stoic, and I can really appreciate people who act in that manner. So I think that's my main thing. It's kind of books in that sense, and then I kind of want to grow into more books that are kind of have that kind of self growth aspect to it,
Mhm.
but is a little less, I guess, a little less complicated in a sense because a lot of
Mhm.
those, like Meditations is a very old text. So I would like something to be a little more playful, but still be um, kind of that self growth aspect.
Like it. What's maybe something about you that people may not necessarily know about you, whether something you like to do, you like to watch, you like to listen to?
Um, I think it's two things. First being music, right when you said listen to, I mean, I listen to music all hours of the day, whatever, almost whatever I'm doing. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is anime. I watch a whole lot of anime. I think it just teaches you great lessons. Obviously, it's one of those more playful things,
Mhm.
but I think it has a lot of good lessons in it. That was kind of one thing my grandpa um, had me watching Dragon Ball Z growing up, and I'd always thought that was just a super good way of kind of teaching. It taught me a lot of things about just how to act as a person and how other people would want to be treated and stuff like that. So I like anime a whole lot. Yeah.
So, I know nothing about anime, so I can't really ask you any follow-up stuff on that, but, music-wise, I mean, what's kinda rotating on on your playlist?
That's tough. That's a tough question. But right now, just my regular heavy rotation. Future's always in there. Gunna, uh, Lucky. Lucky's probably my favorite artist right now. Um,
He's out of
and
Chicago, right?
he is, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's from the west side of Chicago, so that was always really cool seeing him kind of come up. Um, and then the last one, I'll throw more of an underground artist, but I'll throw Jason there. He's kind
Okay.
of on the come up as well, but.
It's been funny because on some of these interviews, music seems to come up a lot, um, especially with the basketball team, it seems like it's come up a lot more and, it came up with, Evan, and he, collects records and, there's kind of a bond with that with his dad, and he had a big collection and, Chase had Pink Floyd, kind of in his backdrop. And then, Sean was talking about Lucky, as well. And so actually I had to go find him and listen to him because he mentioned a couple of people and I'm like, I have no idea who you are. Like, my playlist, it's anywhere from like 80s and 90s is my time frame. And
Mhm.
it's like put in 90s rap. It's like Tupac, Biggie, Snoop, Dre, everybody there you can think of. Anything new, I'm like, gosh, pretty much past probably 2005. I don't probably know many. I stay in my
Mhm.
lane there. So
Yeah, I enjoy older music a whole lot too, especially older R&B and stuff like that. I listen to a whole lot of that, but old rap as well. Mobb Deep's probably like my favorite there. But
okay. Now, you're a computer science major, correct?
yes, yep.
So, what kinda stoked that interest?
That was another kind of thing that just started very, very early on. My grandpa was super into tech. For some reason, he was not good with it, but he loved just toying around with it, and that kind of just filtered into me. And it was kind of with video games as well. I was really young and wanted a gaming PC to play some different games, Minecraft and stuff at the time. But um, eventually, that kind of just evolved into me, like building another PC and swapping out parts and stuff like that. And then it just kind of, like I said, evolved from there even more. Where I was took a class in high school on coding, and then basically my senior year, I had my mind made up already that I wanted to do computer science as my major. So yeah, it started really early on.
Now, have you ever had any interest on, like, getting involved with the esports program at Augie?
No, I'm I couldn't. I don't know if I could do esports. I think it would make me a little too. I'd be a little too irritated on the game. Also, and I also don't think I'm good enough. But yeah, it is. Probably would have a lot of fun doing esports, but I think that's kind of one of those things where I like to relax a little more. So I think it spark a little too much irritation in me. But
Now, in your who do you live with right now?
so I live with Brandon Merritt, who
Uh,
does kind of like a lot of the videos and stuff, and I live with Bailey Greenberg. I think you know both. Bailey does like some videography stuff for some of the
Okay.
basketball and football games. Really tall guy, like 6'7". So and they both played
Yeah.
here at some point. So
Okay. Yeah, because I think he did the production for football, if I remember
yeah, he did.
correctly.
Yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
terrible with names for to start, but I can tell you exactly who he is.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so when I was at Augie, we had it was me and a couple of other football players, and we always were kind of sticking on the gaming thing. We always had a game we went to, we played against. Do you guys have a house game that like you compete on and quite a bit or
It's actually a couple. The most common, just team wide. I'll have guys come over. We play some 2K. That's always a big one. You know that's a good one to start some arguments. And then recently it's been NCAA football. We've had a couple of those, and then the last one is UFC. Brandon loves UFC, so we're playing a lot of that. That's a little more lighthearted, but I would say the main two are probably 2K and NCAA football.
man? So next week, I'm gonna have John Bolton on from the esports team. He also plays football, but he just
Okay.
took second to was it Dallas Baptist for the esports program playing NBA 2K. Um, but yeah, back in my day, I mean, I'm gonna age myself, but like ours was like Soul Calibur. That was the one we always played before we went out. But again, that was like PS2. We're talking 2003, 2004. But now within computer science, it really ranges across like programming language, network systems, data structures, algorithms, like database management. What aspect of kind of the computer science degree and track that, do you find yourself, interested in more or kind of gravitating towards?
Um, Initially and still right now is mostly software development. I like the app development side of things and kind of like the the different softwares. I think because of gaming and stuff like that. But I've gotten a lot more into, I think it's called financial. It's basically like an auditing side of computer science. So it's kind of like the cybersecurity aspect of
Okay.
financial auditing. Since a lot of that's done kind of over databases and stuff like that. I've grown a big interest in that, especially because it's growing. But I think it's
Mhm.
something that I just had an interest in because if I didn't do computer science, I think I would have done accounting, and so that's just kind of been an interest of mine for a while.
Well, it really seems like the math side, really, really kind of lends yourself to the computer science side. So I could certainly see the accounting aspect. Now, do you have like a senior inquiry class that you need to focus on, here in the spring or?
Yeah, yeah, that'll be my last, I guess, required computer science class. All the others would be electives. So yeah, it's just this last SI.
Are you familiar with like R Studio at all?
Not a whole lot, I don't think.
Yeah, I was trying to. So last year I partnered with with the senior inquiry class, and they built me a football and baseball kind of stat program, but it was all based on our studio. And I really don't know a whole lot about our studio, and like what they built was awesome. And it functioned really well. You just really need to know how to get into kind of our studio and manipulate, some of the data that's coming in to like pull in, like they had it to where it was pulling in all of football and baseball stats, at all levels, any school from the NC2A, stat site. And so I was like, man, I wonder if you know anything about our studio. That'd be handy because I may say, hey, take a look at this for me selfishly
Yeah, I would
as we
actually
get
be
ready for
really interested to
baseball.
look at stuff like that. Yeah, I would be really interested to look at some stuff like that actually, especially with the SI coming up. So
Yeah. I might have to hit you up then. 'Cause I bought a new laptop for here at home, so I need to get it installed, and I've got all the standard work that they gave me. I need to kind of
mhm.
comb back through and familiarize myself because I was like, man, baseball starts in like 6 weeks. So it's coming up quick. Um, Now, have you had an opportunity to do any type of like work study or internship so far?
I did an internship over the summer with the city of Aurora. I was a IT intern, or technically, I guess my name was like CFO um, intern, and basically I shadowed the CFO for a good portion of the day. Obviously, it was a lot of things I couldn't hear about because it was, meetings with the mayor and stuff like that. But um, yeah, it was very insightful in terms of kind of what happens at municipalities, especially a large one like Aurora. And it gave me a lot of good insight on kind of what the cybersecurity or IT realm kind of looks like on the public side. So it was a very very interesting summer for me. It was awesome.
So what does kind of life look like possibly for, after Augie kind of career wise? Are you looking to stick around the area? Can I move back to the suburbs? What are you kind of thinking?
I'm pretty open. I like California a lot. I have some family that lives in California. I visit them quite often, and yeah, I do like Cali a lot. So that's probably first on my radar right now. And then I think my second would be to go back home and live in Chicago somewhere probably like Wicker Park. Um, so yeah.
Um, One of the things I wanted to go back to, you talked about earlier, your roommate, Brandon Merritt, and I saw last night in the email Coach Delp sent out for the fast break, it had it linked to that docu series he's working on.
Mm.
So of course it was like 11:30 last night. I see the email, and of course I'm like laying in bed. I'm like, oh, I need to watch it on my phone, so I do. Um, that is super cool. And I think about, all the things that the basketball team is doing to promote the program, promote the players. Um, so many really cool things. Like, do you have any idea where that docu series, like where that idea stemmed from?
You know, I don't want to take Brandon's put words in Brandon's mouth here, but we watch a decent amount of YouTube in our house. That's just kind of how we grew up, especially me and Brandon. But it's a guy called Nick in the Cut, and he did a docu series on the most popular was Jared McCain when Jared McCain was in high school, and I think that's kind of where the idea started. And then once they kind of got connected, that he got connected with Augie and Coach Delp to start doing some content creation. He right away was like, yeah, I want to do some type of docu series showing some fun stuff on the bus,
Mhm.
or of course games and stuff like that. And I let him handle all that. He's the mastermind with the content creation. But yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's been interesting. I brought this up with Evan when I was interviewing him because that same day or within the last few days, but before talking to him, they had that the NCAA ruling on the one JUCO player about giving him another year of eligibility. And this morning, I was Bob Quillman from Wesleyan. He's one of the D3 Hoops top 25 voters. He and I were talking on Twitter about an article came out this morning that the NCAA is looking at expanding to fifth year, to 5 years of eligibility. Which I'm like, I mean, the implications would be crazy because, one of the things Augie
Mm.
doesn't have is a graduate program to hold on to players for a fifth year, whereas like a Wheaton or Central do, Illinois Wesleyan does, so that's kind of how they built specifically Wheaton and North Central, football powerhouses. But um, I mean, have you heard anything about that, or is that kind of news to you? And I mean, what's your kind of reaction to that?
Yeah, that's news to me. Yeah, I had no idea that they were thinking about expanding to a fifth year. Um, yeah, that's news to me. I don't know. I would have to do some heavy thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously something like that's not gonna happen probably enough time. Um, because
Oh yeah,
I was
that's
talking
unfortunate.
with Coach Wildermuth, about the JUCO thing. I was like, hey, I still have a year of eligibility if that's the case, so it might have to be player coach. um,
Oh
I
man.
mean, being like from your perspective, I mean, you've been in the era of NIL deals. Obviously, it's not really impacting many folks at the D3 level, but I mean, what's it been like, kind of from your perspective, like over the last couple of years? I mean, COVID, you guys had to work through the NIL
Mhm.
kind of expansion. Now we've got these other things kind of potentially on the horizon. I mean, what's it been like just kind of riding that train, over the last couple of years?
Man, it's definitely been interesting. It's definitely been interesting. I think COVID was some of the was an interesting time for just a lot of athletes in general, especially starting with my senior year of high school, only having I think we had eight or nine games because we ended up having someone that caught COVID as well. So um, I think that I mean it is a very interesting thing that you kind of have to navigate and be able to be able to talk about with other people if you're having some
Mhm.
problems. Um, but on the NIL side, I think that was a great move. Obviously, it's going to have some implications behind it and some things that might some tough conversations for staff and stuff like that, and it's a little harder to navigate getting players. But I think it's great just because some guys kind of deserve those kind of things when they were in college. So I think it's a great thing that they implemented. Just have to continue to refine it.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it's an interesting landscape. Tell you what, I don't think I can come out of my retirement at 42 years old. So even though I got some eligibility left, but I don't think so.
Right.
Um, here's an interesting stat that I looked up last night, and I posted it today. I wasn't sure if you had a chance to see it, but I don't know if you realize you're on pace to tie for the um 22nd overall most games played in Augustana Viking basketball history. Did you realize that?
I didn't realize that. I did see the tweet that I had played the most games and I was very surprised. Um, but man, that would be something really cool. That would be something really cool.
Yeah, it was like 89 games kind of in total so far. So you had 26 your freshman and junior year, 25 your sophomore, 12 this year. Now this is just based on like 13 more yet on the schedule than obviously any additional games that come, beyond the regular season schedule. But I mean, currently with 13 more on the schedule, you're on pace to play 102 games, which I think is crazy. I mean, how does it feel to be approaching a milestone like that kind of in your career?
Man, first thing, my body can definitely feel it. It can feel it at times. But but man, it's just a blessing. Is the main thing that I've had the opportunity to play this many games under a great program. So yeah, I'm just blessed.
What do you feel like has been the key to like your longevity?
I think just kind of being the flexible guy. Once again, I think it comes back to that. Just being able to do whatever we may need that game or that year or that moment, whatever it may be. I think it's the flexibility that's been able to keep me in games and playing that many games. So
Yeah. And I've asked several people, how they prepare for games, but I'm thinking a little bit about the other side of the pillow around like recovery. Um, somebody who's played as many games as you have, how do you approach kind of recovery after games?
after games is immediately sit down for a while, ice up whatever might need icing. That might be a lot of things. So um, but definitely the main thing with me is ankles. So I got to do a lot of ankle rehabbing and making sure that um, my ankles are strong enough. Just because I think the kind of brand of basketball I play is that's the thing that's susceptible to that is turning ankles and coming down on somebody's ankle. So yeah, a lot of work on the ankles. And then ice and rest is the main thing, getting off your feet. And then we usually have an off day the next day, so that's another day of just rehab and rest and sitting around. Usually that's a Sunday, so I'm sitting there watching some football. So
It's interesting. Kind of alluded to the post. When I think a little bit about the current group of Augie seniors and throwing Tyler in there as well as a fifth year, it's like combined total games is 617, 196, almost 197 hours played. And then, when I look just strictly at you group of seniors and I take Tyler out as that fifth year, um, you guys have played a ton of minutes, a ton of hours, ton of games on the court together. I mean, this is, Evan, Anthony, Nick Gilberto, um, oh gosh, I can't read half of these over here. Colton,
yeah.
and obviously Chase and Tyler and Mike Hamilton. Um, I mean, 605 combined, kind of total games and 193 hours. Like, you know, thinking back as a freshman, did you ever think like how much time you guys would spend on the court and in game situations, when you guys kind of first walked into probably your first open gym?
Honestly, you know, coming in, obviously everyone wants to play and being on the floor, but you have to be realistic with yourself. And I didn't think that I would come in right away and be able to make impact or get a whole lot of minutes. I thought I might get some little minutes here and there. But it just kind of happened like that's for almost all of us, where immediately we kind of had to step up and be able to play a lot of minutes and understand the concepts that were very new. Um, but the main thing is we had each other. So if one person was struggling, we understood that we had to pick them up or whatever it may be. So yeah, I think that because I think what was it, me, Chase, and Nick started that first game, and I think all of us can tell you that we were very nervous that first game, but eventually those nerves settle, and that's kind of what is just how we've evolved over all these years, and I think that's a big part of our success as well, is having that many games played and that many hours on the court together is kind of how we formed that camaraderie and the connection between each other.
Yeah. Well, I commend the dedication, man, that you guys have put forth for the last 4 years. Um, when you look back, what's been maybe one of the most memorable moment or maybe a couple of moments over your career here at Augie?
For me, and this is probably, I don't know if anyone would say this, but I think the first game was, obviously we did not get the result we wanted versus Oshkosh, which was a very good team that year. I think they were ended up being ranked number one for a while, but um, I think that was one of my favorite moments because I remember kind of just going out there and looking around, and we're in a hostile environment out in Wisconsin, and I'm looking around and I see obviously the other two freshmen that started with me, Chase and Nick, but you look on the bench too, and Coop's ready to come off the bench, and Mike is on the bench, and Colt and everyone else. And so I thought that was always awesome how we were just out there already ready to play, nervous as ever, but obviously ready to go out there and do the best that we could. Um, and the other one that comes to mind is Elmhurst this year. They put a beating on us quite a few times, over the years. So it was awesome to go over there, especially, and beat them at their house. That was awesome.
Yeah. Um, and I think about, some of the freshmen. I was watching the JV game. I think it was yesterday, or the day before yesterday. I can't remember exactly when they played Blackhawk. Um, and obviously a couple of freshmen, were out there playing. I know, I've known Dom, for a few years now, but when you think of some of the freshmen, what type of advice do you give them, or if they were watching this, what type of advice would you give a freshman kind of stepping in for their first year that's trying to prove that they deserve a spot in the rotation?
The main thing is, and this is really just kind of repeating things that I'm sure they've heard, but is stay focused and that everything matters. Whether it's something off the court that coach asked you to do, or obviously things on the court that you are required to do and should be doing. Um, but yeah, it's just everything matters, and to just stay ready. Things may happen. Um, like us, you just kind of thrown into the fire. Injuries happen. Guys leaves, things happen. So just to be ready and to continue to put the work in, and eventually you'll get the results you want.
Absolutely. Well, we'll wrap things up here. I mean, gosh, we're at over 41 minutes. This might be my longest.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, sucks because I'm gonna miss the next three home games. Usually, me and my son Wyatt come because he loves to come watch Augie play. Because unfortunately, two of them are on the Wednesdays, and I coach a wrestling club on Mondays and Wednesdays, but also the 18th because I'm going to go up and actually watch the Augie women wrestle at U of I.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I might need to go check that one out. But yeah, so I'll definitely be watching online. But after that, I'll catch one of the next home games here. So I'll certainly say hi if you see me. And but again, man, it's been a ton of fun. Thanks again for connecting with me so quickly, and hope you enjoyed your time on here. And we'll good luck to the Vikings here on Wednesday.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me and appreciate your support.
Absolutely, we'll talk to you soon.
All right.